What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Hey, come on in, come on in, come on in. What's up, Tracy, Yana? Hey, Kenya, Sharice. I have yet to watch both documentaries. I'll catch up over the weekend and watch them. Okay, hey, Coach Dixon. Hey, I ain't seen you in a minute, girl. How you doing, girl? Well, look, I decided that I would go ahead and combine the two. I know yesterday Harold said he had to work until 7. I'm not sure what time he has to work, but we're gonna coordinate for next week because I definitely want Harold's input on next week's episode of The Secrets of Miss America because next week they're gonna talk about Rule 7. And Rule 7 said that nobody that wasn't white could win. I didn't know nothing about that. And like I told y'all last week, I have never been a Miss America girl. I'm not really into pageants and all of that. Like they don't intrigue me, they don't interest me, they don't do nothing for me. So um but I definitely want his input. And if he's here and drop down, that's great. But I definitely want to coordinate with him for next week. But I decided that I would combine the two because last season we did the Secrets of Playboy. And for those of you who did not catch any of those, y'all gotta go back and look at my reviews. But basically, it was really an expose on Playboy. And you know, it's not just about looking at Playboy through a different lens now that that the world, in our post Me Too movement, it's really like it really got deep. It was, got deep into sexual assaults and celebrities who went down to the Playboy mansion and drugs and all kinds of things, right? So for season 2, I was a little apprehensive. I was like, is this just going to be the same thing? Um, Is it just going to be like more women coming forward telling their stories? And not that their stories aren't important and their stories don't need to be told. So I don't want nobody to think that. But, I was like, I hope this doesn't turn into like, when we did like the second season of becoming R. Kelly, surviving R. Kelly, because again, everybody's story deserves to be told, but I just didn't know that's what it was. But it seems like, at least in these first 2 episodes, that it seems like the people who did this documentary, and I'm gonna give them credit for this. I'm gonna give them credit, and I'm gonna give them kudos. Um, it seems like they're trying to balance the experiences. And so what I mean by that is this: it doesn't in any way, shape, or form negate those women's experiences and their stories. But that wasn't everybody's experience and that wasn't everybody's story, right? So with that being said, last week's episode, you packing for Philly. Oh, you on your way to, that's right, you did tell me you were going to Philly. Um, Last week's episode dealt with um the reality show, the Girls Next Door reality show, which, basically it was a competition show that they had on MTV. I think it was like, no, it was on Fox. Maybe it was on Fox. It was on like regular television, or regular basic cable. And then the uncut version was streaming, was on like the Playboy channel. That was when they still had the Playboy channel. So the uncut version was on the Playboy channel. And it was, people's opportunity to compete to be a centerfold. And they showed the picking process, and they showed how the women, all the, like, not all of the women, but like maybe 4 or 5 of the women who were on the show, their process, who they were before the show, how they got on the show, and basically what their life has been like post show. And none of the women were ultimately bitter about their experience. One woman had a really rough time after being on the show because she was a mom, and she ended up getting her kids taken from her because once the show came on, she lived in a small town, like she says, like about an hour outside of Atlanta, one of those little small towns, and people called social services complaining about her, and she actually like lost her daughter, and she had to go through a whole process of getting her daughter back. And she said even to this day, her and her daughter's relationship really isn't great. um I don't know. I don't know if the daughter blames her. I don't know if the daughter feels like she didn't fight hard enough, because she did end up getting her daughter back. And she said as soon as she got her daughter back, she left. She packed up and she left town. But it was a process. Like, it wasn't an overnight thing. It was a process. She was really the only person that really had anything negative to really say. And again, it wasn't even about her experience as much as it was about what happened after her experience. So Monday night's episode of The Secrets of Playboy, um, um, I felt like it was more to the story than that, taking the kids as serious. So let me say this. I honestly don't think it was more to the story, because the reality is people are ignorant, and people do equate, oh, she posed naked. She went on a TV show to get the opportunity to pose naked in Playboy. She must not be. She can't be. Now, I will say this. It does seem like she had a rebellious personality. Um, but again, that doesn't make her a bad mom either. I mean, like, she had a piercing in her private woman area. She was like edited as the wild child of the show. She worked at Hooters, but none of those things make you a bad mom. So I agree, Kenya, that maybe when people called, um, social services, they might have added more. Um, but I do feel like the attack came as a result of her being on this public platform, being on that public platform. But again, I do think it was more to the story, because the fact that she said that her and her daughter still are struggling with their relationship, and this was, hell, what, 15 years ago? I can agree with that 100%, right? But the reality is, I mean, we're going to see in next week's episode where teachers lost their jobs because they posed in Playboy, and again, posing in Playboy doesn't make you a bad teacher. People, so it did affect people's day-to-day life, because again, there was a very negative connotation connected to being associated with Playboy, right? Um, so, but yeah, I can agree with that to a certain extent, that I think that more was said, but I think it was precipitated by the fact that she was on she was in Playboy. Anyway, so Monday night's episode, it dealt with the girlfriends. Now, if you guys remember the whole Hugh Hefner having his, gag of girlfriends, we know he had 7, and then the number dwindled down to the 3 that ended up doing the Girl Next Door show. What was her name? Madison, Kendra, and I forget the third person's name. But it was 7 of them in the beginning, right? And 2 out of the 7 are we're telling their story on Monday night. Now, let me get to my notes. I believe one of the girls' name was Zoe, and I think the other one's name was, I feel like I made up her name was Chloe. I feel like that wasn't really her name. I feel like I made up that her name was Chloe, but we're gonna call her Chloe. So Chloe was from Poland. She was a immigrant that had her family migrated to Canada from Poland, and she was actually in law school. Holly, Bridget, and Kendra. Where I get Madison from? Thank you, Kenya. Where I get? Wasn't one of her name Madison, or was her last name Madison? I feel like Madison is in my head from somewhere. But okay, but thank you. Holly, Bridget, and Kendra. They weren't his wives. They never got married. That's illegal. Kenya, that's illegal. Okay, Madison. I remember a Madison name. Okay. Yeah, right. So anyway, it dwindled down to the main 3, but it started at 7, and these 2 women were 2 of the 7 in the beginning. So, she was in law school. Madison is Holly Madison. Thank you. Okay, I knew I heard it. I knew it was a Madison somewhere in there. Okay. Holly Madison. Okay, that's her last name. Thank you. I knew a Madison was connected. Okay, So she was actually in law school when she got connected. Okay. And then we have Zoe. Now, Zoe was from England. Listen, Zoe is unapologetically who Zoe is. Okay. And what I mean by that is she said that she started off being what they called a page 3 girl over in London. I think it was the Daily Mirror had on page 3, they would have these pinups, and she wanted to be a page 3 girl. And she took her pictures and sent them in, and she eventually became a page 3 girl. And from there, she started doing modeling. And from there, she moved to LA, and that's how she started getting caught up. Now, Zoe, like I said, she is unapologetic, okay, about any of her experiences. So we'll get into that. So that's it. So both of them met them at a club. They were at the club with Hugh Hefner was there with the girls partying, and they started partying with them, and they got invited to come back to the mansion. No, not that particular night. I think that particular night they just partied and that was it. Then they got a phone call asking would they be interested in coming to the mansion, and both of them went to the mansion. And then that's they said on that they went to the mansion, and then they ended up going to the club again with them. And that night when they got home from the club is when they ended up in the bedroom. Now, their experience in the bedroom, it confirms everything we learned about last season about what went down in the bedroom, right? Because their story goes a little something like this. They were like, the night that they went to the clubs, which was Tuesdays and Thursday nights, they went to the club. Those were the nights where sex was expected, where there was bedroom action was expected. The rest of the nights, you could do whatever you wanted to do, whatever. So when they first started hanging out, they weren't actually part of the girlfriend clique. They were like, they partied with them at the clubs or whatever. So that night they went back and they went up into the bedroom, and they said that before Hugh Hefner came in, the girls were just in there in lingerie, whatever. And they pulled out, they went behind a cabinet behind the bed, like in the the headboard or whatever, pulled out a bag full of sex toys. That is exactly what they said in the documentary season 1. They talked about there would be these bags full of sex toys that they would pull out and they would use, right? So I said, well, that confirms that story. That part of the story is legit. Also, they said that the night that they went to the club was the party night, the night that they went up to the bedroom. I said, okay, well, all of that connects, all of that connects as well. Now, on that first night, now here's where I started side-eyeing a little bit, because I'm like, listen, if you're going to tell the story, tell the story. Now, Zoe, the one from England, Zoe, the one from England, she said that first night, she played with the girls a little bit before Hugh Hefner came in the room. She said, they took the toys out, and she was like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing. And she said that she did play around the first night with the girls, but she didn't do nothing with Hugh. She said she said that she was able to leave. She when she got done and she was like, this ain't what I want to do. She said she got up and she left. Now, Chloe said that first night, she said that she went up to the bedroom, but she made it seem like she didn't do nothing. But she also said that she left that first night. Then they got a phone call asking basically would they like to move into the Playboy mansion. Now, Chloe's point of view on this thing was, look, when will I ever get an opportunity like this before? Playboy is iconic. Playboy is a brand. It is a name. Yes, I'm in law school. I've done all the things that I was supposed to do. I went to school, I went to law school, because at this point she was finishing up law school. And she was like, I'm going to have fun. I'm going to enjoy my life, because 2 or 3 years from now, I'll go back to my regular life, and, it'll just be something that I did in my 20s. She was like, I never looked at it as the rest of my life. I never looked at it as this is something that I'm going to do forever. I just looked at it as This is an opportunity that's presented itself. I'm a roll with it. Like, it is what it is. Zoe's thing was, this what I've been working for. Like, what are you talking about? Like, why wouldn't I want to live in the Playboy mansion? And she looked at it as business. I mean, she really looked at it as business. She was like, listen, I'm doing a job. It is my job to pose as Hugh Hefner's girlfriend. Like, it is my job to look good and go out here and represent the brand and represent Hugh Hefner. That is my job. That is what I'm out here to do. She never looked at it as, we're going to live happily ever after. He was going to choose me. He was going to be my man. Like, she was like, no, like, I did a job. I got paid to do a job. Yeah, I figured the notification didn't go out, Miss Bay thing, because people are slow coming in. But come on in, girl. Come on in. So they said that they got $1,000 a week allowance, but he basically made them beg for it. They were like, I think they got paid every Thursday or something like that. Every Thursday they got paid. They had to literally they had to go ask him for their money. Right? They had to be like, hey, can I get my allowance? Right? Which, of course, I guess at the end of the day, if he give you the money, you ain't care. But it wasn't like a paycheck that you just was handed out every day or whatever. You literally had to go and ask him for your money. So you got $1,000 a week. Now, mind you, this is, the 90s. So $1,000 a week is pretty decent, right? Damn. All of a sudden, hold on. All of a sudden, I got this itch on my back. All right. So $1,000 a week is decent, especially when you're not paying nothing. You're not paying. Did I recap season 2? Yeah, I kind of did. I kind of already talked about episode 1. Yeah, Jennifer. So you didn't you weren't paying rent. You didn't have to pay for food. You didn't have to pay no utilities. You got a shopping allowance. I think their shopping allowance was $2,500. You could get any type of plastic surgery you wanted. If you wanted boobs, a nose job, whatever, they would pay for that. And they pay for you guys. They pay for hair and makeup and spa. So $1,000 a week is literally $1,000 a week to do whatever you wanted to do. Like, you literally didn't have to pay a bill other than whatever bills you might have outside of the mansion. They got cars. They could have pets. Like, all of that was literally taken care of and covered by Playboy. They had like butler service. If they wanted food, they could just pick up the phone and be like, yeah, I want pancakes. And it could be 2:00 in the morning and they would get pancakes. And they literally just got, damn it, what is this? I'm sorry, y'all. This is something itching my back. But they literally got paid to just be cute, be pretty. So both of their attitudes were like, what are you complaining about? Like, okay, so maybe you were expected to, have sex twice a week. But they were like, the rest of the nights belong to us. Like, the rest of okay, so on Tuesday and Thursday nights, we had to go to the club. And yeah, we were expected to go to the bedroom once the club was over. But other than that, we had, we could do whatever we wanted. Now, the other thing was they did have a curfew. And they said it was a hard curfew. They had to be in the house by 9:00 unless they were on like official, Playboy business. They had to be in the home. They had to be in the house by 9:00 every night. Every night. So I'm starting episode 2, but so last week episode, my girl Carmela was on. They don't tell even half of her story, but they did her dirty, especially when she did the diva search. It was a lot that went on. What are you talking about, Young Rich? Call her also to see burping on national TV made her back out of a contract because the Playboy attorney was being, I think it was a rose that didn't see Stacey in 13 years. I don't know who these people are. Carmela, who is Carmela? Is that who I'm calling Chloe? Because I done made up a name for this second girl. Is that who Chloe is, Carmela? Okay, well, let me read that again. I'm starting episode 2 now, but last week. Okay, you talking about last week? Okay, you talking about the reality show last week? Oh, okay. They made her back out of a contract because the Playboy attorney was being. I think that's the real reason we didn't see Stacey in 13 years. See, I don't know these people. You talking about the people that won the reality show? I don't. You know, look, y'all know I don't remember all them people different names from a reality show that I never watched. Okay, I didn't even know they had a reality show. I mean, I knew about Girls Next Door. I didn't know they had a competition show. That's what I'm just saying. I didn't even know they had a competition show. I never watched it. I never knew nothing about it. I never watched it, child. So yeah, so they were saying that basically life was good, and they said that they became really good friends. You know, even though they have very different backgrounds and they probably see the world, you know, pretty differently, but they became really good friends. And they said things were great until it's a long story. They didn't even tell all the details. But that's what I'm saying, Young Rich. You talking about the? Is that the one who won? Is that the one who won? Because you're right. They ain't get into none of that. They ain't tell none of that. Yeah, they ain't tell none of that. They made it seem like everything was all good. Because that's what I was saying. Like, they made it seem like everything, you know, was just a reality show and it was what it was. Okay. They talking about wrestlers. What wrestlers? What are y'all talking? Okay, never mind. The way my bills are set up, give me 1K a week. I'll sleep with someone grandpa twice a week. listen, listen. And like I said, the one from England was like, girl, I was there doing a job. Like, I knew what it was. I'm beautiful. I mean, she didn't say it in these words, but just I'm gonna paraphrase it. Look, I'm beautiful. I know I make good arm candy, and you're gonna pay for my time. And that's what it was. It was a mutually beneficial arrangement for the amount of time that I was there. And that's what it is. It was a mutually beneficial arrangement. No, Carmela is the one who left the competition but came back and did the cover shoots. Oh, okay. Oh, that's the one who called her mama and was like she wanted to go home, but her mama was like, "Why? Like, you sure you don't want to stay?" And her mother was like, "Girl, why you leaving?" Her mother was like, "Girl, why you leaving? You sure you don't want to stay and enjoy all the things that Playboy has to offer? Like, why are we leaving, girl? What are you doing?" Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Um, got you. Okay. So let me scroll back up and see what you said about her. Okay, let me see it again. You said they did my girl Carmela was on. They didn't even tell half her story. They did her dirty, especially when they did the diva search. It was a lot that went on. Called her all sorts of, I guess you're saying, see you next Tuesdays. On national TV, made her back out of a contract because the Playboy attorney. I think the real reason we didn't see Stacey in 13 years. Well, who is Stacey? Who is Stacey? See you throwing these names. Who is Stacey, Young Rich? So anyway, so they said that everything was good until the head girlfriend left. The head girlfriend, her name was Tracy. See, Tracy, you were there, girl. They said Tracy left the mansion, and that's when they said everything changed. Tracy left the mansion, and all of a sudden, their benefits got cut. They couldn't go to the spa anymore. Like their hair and makeup was cut, and life in the mansion just wasn't cool. They said that there was one person in particular. They were talking about Holly was trying to be the main girlfriend and basically trying to push everybody out. Holly really didn't want to be in this, you know, polyamorous situation. She wanted Hugh all to herself. And they said that she basically went out of her way to make their lives miserable because she didn't want them there. She wanted to be the only one. And they actually showed footage of Holly doing interviews and stuff saying how she wanted to, you know, get married and how she really wanted to be the only girlfriend. Like, so they were able to show clips where Holly was saying these things in real time, you know, back during that, you know, interviews back during that time. And they said that basically there was a lot of drama in the house. There was a lot of things going on, and that there ended up being a lot of just a lot of cattiness, a lot of girl cattiness, that, and it was bad. Like, it was a lot of bullying. They said that the two of them were bullied a lot. It sounded like they were on the outs. It sounded like they were the ones that the other girls didn't like, and that they said they were picked on a lot, they were bullied a lot, and that basically Holly didn't like them, and so Holly was pretty much trying to make their lives miserable to get them out of the house, to get them to leave. Eventually, Zoe, the one from England, she did get put out. She got put out the house. She said Hugh came to talk to her, and basically he told her, "Girl, you know it's just too much drama in the house, so you know I gotta let you go. You know I gotta ask you to leave." So it sounds to me, now let me say this: out of all the women in the house, you were the one that was asked to leave, Zoe. I feel like you was in it. I feel like you either you were perceived as the ringleader or you were the ringleader. I mean, I'm just saying, you know, either you were perceived as the ringleader or you were the ringleader. And I'm not saying that it was her fault. That ain't what I'm saying. But out of all the people that was asked to leave, you was asked to leave, Zoe. So basically, you know, Zoe was put out the house. And after Zoe was put out the house, basically, Chloe said that she felt like, you know, basically she felt like she was there by herself because again, they didn't like her, and you know, she felt singled out, and she felt, you know, again, she felt bullied or whatever. And eventually she just left. She said she had been there a year and a half, which was longer than she had actually planned to be there anyway. And she was just like, you know what? This was a great time. This was a great opportunity, but yeah, it's time to go. And she said that they were at the club that night. And when Hugh said it's time to go, she was like, nope, I'm staying. And she decided to stay. And they left her there. And she said, you know, then she ain't had no money to get home. She took a cab home, but didn't have no cash, child. And the security at the Playboy Mansion had to pay her cab fare. But she said she packed her bags the next day and left. As a result, you know, Zoe, the one from England, she said that, you know, when she left the Playboy Mansion, she kept doing modeling. She said she did some adult movies, you know. I said, see, Zoe was about that life. Okay, Zoe was about that life. She said she did adult movies, and now she does like Botox and like filler injections and stuff like that, child. But again, she does not have any negative thoughts or opinions on her time at the Playboy Mansion. She was like, that just wasn't, you know, that wasn't my experience there. You know, she was like, yeah, you know, she said basically, yeah, they had sex with him, but they said he was on Viagra and it didn't last long. That was pretty much what she said. She said, I mean, you know, basically it sounded like they was, I mean, the way she described it was like they was running a train on hell. Like each one of them had to just basically jump on for a couple of minutes and be done with it. That's the way she made it seem. Like he wasn't, you know, wasn't really, you know. Yeah, Lauren, they said his wife Kimberly didn't play them games. She shut the mansion down, kept all the women out. But the girlfriends came after this divorce. That's when the girlfriends came. Hold on. Hey, I'm live. What's up? Okay. All right. Um. But yeah, after he divorced his wife, that's when he opened the mansion back up, child, and he, you know, had all these girlfriends and stuff. So yeah, that's basically, you know, Chloe said that, you know, after she left, she said, even though she said she finished law school, but she never finished her requirements to do the bar, to take the bar. So she's not a licensed attorney, but she is a JD. She did graduate from law school. But she said that when she left the mansion, she just wasn't the same person she was when she went in, and she just didn't have a passion for the law like she did, you know, like she did back then. She no longer had a passion for it. And so now she runs a animal rescue in LA. So yeah, it was interesting to just hear a different perspective. Again, I'm not judging these women for how they chose to live their life. I'm not judging them for the decisions that they made. I mean, from the point of view of what, Chloe said, she's absolutely correct. You know what I mean? It was a once in a lifetime opportunity, for a year and a half. You lived in a mansion where you were waited on hand and foot. You got to shop whenever you wanted to shop. You got money to do whatever you wanted to do within, as long as you were home by 9 o'clock, right? And I mean, different people will look at that differently, but girl, live your life, child. Live your life. And Zoe, like I said, Zoe she was already posing nude and stuff before she even went to the Playboy mansion. So she was about that life. Like it, wasn't an issue for her. It doesn't negate anybody else's experience. It doesn't negate anybody else's story who said that these things happened to them at the Playboy mansion at all. At all. Because it doesn't mean that the same thing happened to everybody. It doesn't mean that. 1 week somebody pays all my main bills and I only have to bounce up and down for 10. I'm not doing this with Tracy. But a lot of people would listen, let's be honest. A lot of people would take that arrangement. A lot, especially you in your early 20s. You got a beautiful body. A lot of women would take that deal. Let's just put it in 2023 money. So if this was the 90s, 1K a month, let's just double it. So you get $2,000 a week, not a month. You get $2,000 a week. You pay no bills. You have a car. You have 24-hour service. You get to sit by the pool. You get whatever type of cosmetic surgery you might want. You get hair and makeup. You go to the salon whenever you want. Get your hair done, your nails done, massage, whatever. And all you got to do, I'm not saying all, but I'm saying, but part of the requirement is twice a week, you got to have an orgy. Because that's basically what it was. It was an orgy, girl. That's what it was. I mean, a lot of women would take that deal. Like, let's just call a thing a thing. Let's just call a thing a thing. A lot of women would take that deal. I ain't saying I would have. I'm saying a lot of women would have. It sounded like you had to be a little sexually fluid too, because it sounded like the women played around with each other for his pleasure as well. So you had to be willing to be a little sexually fluid. Now we're gonna add that to the list. We're gonna add that to the list. You know what I'm saying? Because it does sound like you had to be willing. No. Well, Kenya, they said it was a lot of that going on. Kenya said I would have to do a lot of, pop some pills and drink. They said it was a lot of that going on. People probably did have to be high and drunk. I'm sure there was a lot of that. I'm sure it was flowing. I'm sure it was free flowing. Free flowing. Probably for that exact reason, But that was episode 2. Like I said, it seems like they're trying to show other aspects. Because there are other aspects, And again, it does not negate anybody else's experience. I want to just emphasize that it does not negate anybody else's experience. I just want to emphasize that. So the secrets of Miss America, episode 2. Now, this got into the swimsuit competition. Well, not can you say I'm sexually fluid, just not with geriatric white men. Okay, well, listen. It wouldn't have been with the men. It would have been with the women. That's what I'm saying. You would have had to be willing to get down with the fellow girlfriends. That's what I mean. Now, this episode dealt with the elimination of the swimsuit competition. Now, I'm gonna be honest. Y'all might be surprised at my opinion on this swimsuit competition situation. I want to know, are they going to talk about his partnership with Vince McMahon? because there's a reason why Sable sued him and the company after her cover shoot and left WWE and other stuff. I don't know, Young Rich. I don't know. I haven't seen anything in the trailer to indicate that, but that doesn't mean no. I haven't seen anything about it. No, Hef was there. Yeah, all of them were in one big old bed, child. Remember they talked about that big old round bed? They were all in one big bed, honey. So we left off last week with the big scandal down to the Miss America pageant, where the guy who was in charge got his emails got exposed, and so he was eventually fired. He was ousted. The whole board was ousted, and so now they had to bring in a new board. So the former Miss Americas got together and they voted in a new head of the board, who ended up being Gretchen Carlson, who was a former Miss America herself. Now, this is post Me Too. Remember, Gretchen Carlson gets a lot of credit for being a major pillar of the Me Too movement. Remember, she's the one that sued Fox News, and Roger, what's his name? Edelson, and won that major settlement from Fox News. She was put in charge of the pageant. Now, what Gretchen Carlson wanted to do, she wanted to modernize the pageant, and she wanted to make it more about women empowerment and less about Roger Ailes, thank you, and make it more about women empowerment and less about women bodies and outer appearance. So this widely divided the pageant world. It divided the former queens. Right, Tina, that's her name, Tina. I said Tracy. I'm sorry, Jennifer. Thank you. I said Tracy. Tina. Yeah, Tina's the one that left and changed everything at the house. Thank you. So it widely divided everything, right? So let me go through my notes because I'll make sure I get everything. Okay. Gretchen Carlson swimsuit competition. So let me say this. So they got into the history a little bit of Miss America. So here's the thing. Miss America started as a swimsuit competition. Now, granted, back in those days, they weren't bikinis. They were like, those full-bodied, swimsuits, and women had to wear stockings and all of that. But they literally would measure women's bust size and their neckline and their thighs. Like, they literally were judged on their proportions. They were literally judged on these things. So the pageant itself, it literally started as a swimsuit competition. And so they talked about that, like because it wasn't Miss America, it was something else, and then it evolved into Miss America. But it started, in Atlantic City on the boardwalk, and it was all about. It was just, it was an event that they would have on the boardwalk. Of course, it was for men's pleasure, and they would have these, That's why Kenya was like, no, and then she'll say, oh, so they don't, huh? So they didn't have a swimsuit competition for Miss USA? Oh, interesting. So, okay, so the women talked about all the different things that happened that they knew of that happened as it connected to the swimsuit competition. Diet pills, eating disorders, women literally starving themselves. They said one woman would eat baby food. She would. Okay, Harold, we don't have to connect for next week because I really do want your input. So you get off of work at 7. Okay, so we're gonna have to connect for next week's review for rule number 7. So we'll have to connect on that one. I can do it after 7. That's no problem. Let me know. Like I said, hit me up. Let me know what time you get home and all that good stuff and what day you want to do it. The show comes on Monday night. Wednesday or Thursday nights would be better. So let me know. Okay. And so they talked about all the horrible things that were connected to the swimsuit competition and how it was just like an impossible image to keep, like an impossible image to keep connected. Isabella, that's her name. I was calling her Chloe the whole time. Isabella was her name. You said Isabella left because she didn't want to be without Zoe. So she says, but I think it was because she didn't want to be the next one caught. The next one caught doing what? Ooh, caught doing what, Jennifer? Oh, I want to know. What was they caught doing? I want to know the next one caught. Okay. I hope she tells me. I want to know. Okay. They didn't just change the swimsuit competition. They also changed the evening gown competition where instead of women having to wear evening gowns, they could wear whatever they wanted. So if they wanted to wear business suit, like pantsuits or whatever. And so a lot of the women, a lot of people, former queens and people connected with the pageant, they were upset about the swim competition, but they were also upset about the evening gown competition because they said it was just less glamorous. Like it just took something away from the glamour of the competition. They said it just took something away from it. And so they again, it was a very divided facet, right? There were some people who were all for it, and they had both sides represented in the episode. They had some women that were all for it. They were like they were here for what Gretchen was doing. They supported the vision that she had. They agreed that it could have been rolled out better. They said that the way it was sort of rolled out and thrown to the public probably wasn't the best way that it could have been presented. They called it Miss America 2.0. It had this whole like competition, like this whole ad campaign of Miss America 2.0, Miss America 2.0. They said that ABC did not threaten to drop the pageant. A lot of people said that ABC didn't want to air it if it didn't have a swimsuit competition, and they said that that's not true. That it was never, ABC never threatened to not air the show. But internally, it caused a lot of problems. Now, the way the pageant is set up is that each state sort of has their license to do the local pageants. Because, if you're in the pageant circuit, it really starts in the teens, Miss Teen USA, Miss Teen, Miss Teen, Miss Teen. But, hey, Colton. But from there, you evolve into the regular pageant circuit. And, it starts locally. You have to win a certain number of pageants in order to be eligible to run for your state. And then if you win the state, then you automatically become eligible to run for Miss America. So each state has like a licensing agreement with Miss America, right? If you have to have the license in order to run for or be able to hold a Miss America pageant. And what happened was there were a group of states that wrote a letter and they showed they were not happy with this new no swimsuit competition, and once they wrote this letter and they were upset by it, they threatened their licensing. It was 3 states that they threatened their licensing. Georgia was one. I think it was Georgia, Pennsylvania. I didn't write the third one down. But the 3 states were threatened, and they were like, basically, if y'all keep running y'all mouths, like 3 states were threatened with suspension, and other states were threatened with probation if they basically stop speaking out publicly against the new changes and against the new pageant. In 2018, with the help of Gretchen Carlson, they got rid of the swimsuit competition. Yeah, that's what I just said. I wonder if they're going to interview Vanessa Williams. She's such arguably the most famous one. I didn't see her in any of the trailers. That doesn't mean she didn't talk to them, but I haven't seen her yet. But again, that doesn't mean that she didn't participate. So when they had the competition that year, girl, Gretchen Carlson's life was threatened to the point where the FBI had to be called in and she had to have like bodyguards and 24-hour security. So like literally her life was threatened over the swimsuit competition being gone. Yeah, it's actually like 25 and 30 states that ended up revolting against Carlson for removing the swimsuit. Yeah. So they had that first pageant, and of course, people were like, "Oh my gosh, it was horrible. The pageant was so terrible without swimsuit." And I mean, you literally had women talking about, like I said, they had both sides represented. You had some women who were talking about how the swimsuit competition made them feel empowered, and how they felt walking down walking out there strutting and being confident. And then you had women who were like, "Look, in that moment, it was what it was. Like I knew what it was. I was in that pageant. I was in that mindset, and it was what it was. But in hindsight, because even old girl, the one from last week that was Miss America and was being bullied by the guy, whatever. Um, she said that during her reign as Miss America, a picture of her was posted in the tabloids of her in her bikini, and like people were calling her fat and calling her Miss Piggy and this and the other. And they showed the picture, and she definitely did not look the same as in her swimsuit competition, but she wasn't fat by any means. Like you could definitely tell she had picked up a few pounds, but she was nowhere near close to being fat. Now I am going to say this: I did make an observation, and I'm not fat shaming anybody. Please don't nobody say nothing about me fat shaming. I'm a fat girl, okay? I'm making an observation. I do notice that a lot of these former queens have picked up weight. A lot of these, and again, are they fat? Yeah, it's only on week 2, Mims. It was only the first 2 episodes. What's up, babe? I was talking about you earlier. I was like, I ain't talked to Mims in a while. A lot of these queens have picked up weight. And I'm not talking about their fat. I ain't talking about they weigh 300 pounds, but they are certainly not the size that they were when they competed. So you can see that when the pressure of competition is no longer like on them, then and they're allowed to like live their regular lives and that regular metabolism kicks in, like a lot of those women have picked up weight. And again, are they skinny? I mean, are they fat? Not by what I would call fat, but I mean, they might, instead of being a size 0, they might be a size 8, a size 12. You know what I'm saying? So, and I still wouldn't call that fat. But when you look at, and I mean, these are recent winners. I'm not talking about, oh, they won 20 years ago. I mean, I'm talking about they had like the 2018 winner and the 2019 winner and the 2010 winner. Like these ain't women that won 30 years ago. I think Gretchen was carrying her own Fox lawsuit baggage into Miss America pageant. Threats against her life is too much. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think, and this my opinion. I'm gonna give y'all what happened. I'm gonna give y'all my opinion, and my opinion might surprise some of y'all. And I think they said they even changed instead of the women. You know how they had to answer questions, and I think they used to have to give like a statement. Then they had to give like an impact statement on what they were going to do to change the world, kind of thing, right? They changed the requirement of their statement to make it more of like, instead of out in world hunger, it had to be a lot more specific, right? So they did say that the ratings dropped, but one of the former queens brought up a valid point. She was like, "Of course the ratings are going to drop. Surprise, surprise, that people would tune into a show to watch a bunch of women walk around on stage in a bikini and heels. Of course, ratings are going to drop because there are people who are, but then what does that say? That if the only reason why these people were tuning in was to see the swimsuit competition, then was it about the pageant or was it about watching women walk around in a bikini?" And I was like, that is a valid point. That is a valid argument. The way this episode ended, though, I got the impression, and Harold, if you can drop it down because I know you are the expert when it comes to this. it almost sounds like they were talking as if Miss America is still in trouble, like that Miss America is still in a really bad space. Because, they would, some of the women were saying how, Miss America is going to have to figure out a way, if it's going to survive, it's going to have to figure out a way to adjust and figure it out and appeal to the masses. And people were like, one woman was saying, maybe, maybe this, it should end. Maybe this is it. Like, this is something that's been in existence since the 1920s. What else has been in existence since the 1920s? So maybe maybe it should be over. Like, maybe it has, run its time out, and it's not viable anymore with today's world. Here's my 2 cents. Not that nobody asked, but let me share it. And this might surprise y'all. I feel like I don't think they should have got rid of the swimsuit competition. I feel like the pageant is what the pageant is. That is the history of it. That is what the pageant is. If you didn't like the pageant, then create a different pageant that focuses on these different things. But this pageant was created in this space about these things. It is, you can add all the scholarships you want, because people used to argue with me, oh, you can earn scholarship money. Okay, there's scholarships for everything. Hell, there's a scholarship for being left-handed. It doesn't mean you did anything great. It just means that you met the criteria for whoever decided to create this scholarship. People can put whatever criteria they want on a scholarship. And that's no disrespect to anybody who has ever been in a pageant or anybody who has ever won a pageant. That is no disrespect. But what I'm saying is, just because it provides for college tuition and provides scholarship opportunity doesn't make it a good thing, or doesn't make it something that it is what it is. The entertainment value of the pageant itself was removed once they converted over the 2.0. No one watches a beauty pageant to hear a bunch of talking and as if it's a political debate. Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're going to run a pageant, just stand in what it is. Like, kind of like what we were just saying about the Playgirl, the Playboy thing. Like, it is what it is. Like, you went into the Playboy mansion to be Hugh Hefner's girlfriend, and he got 6 other girlfriends. You already know what it is. You know what you're signing up for when you walk in the door. Like, nobody shocked you with it. And it's, it's kind of like you get into the Playboy mansion and now you want to change the rules. No, the pageant is the pageant. Now, do I think that they could have put some parameters in place to make it a healthier environment? Yes. Remember modeling in the early 90s when the whole waif movement and not Twiggy, Pete, what was her name? Kate Moss, that whole waif look, and like remember they changed the rules that models had to weigh a certain amount of had to meet a certain weight, and they had to designers couldn't ask, they put, I forget the words I'm looking for, but they put parameters in place that designers had to adhere to in order to be on the main runways, in order to participate in the New York Fashion Week and the Paris Fashion Week. And they eliminated a lot of that so that these women would not try to be this unhealthy waif-like, damn near dead, status. And I mean, are they still skinny ass measurements? Thank you, Mims. Are they still skinny ass models? Absolutely. Is this still considered a model size? Yes. But they put things in place to try to create a healthier environment. And I think they could have done stuff like that. Would have it eliminated all of these unhealthy practices 100%? Absolutely not. You can never eliminate everything 100%, but I could see them saying, listen, we know, because we were part of the pageant circuit, that unhealthy things happen to women. We know that these women create eating disorders. We know that these women starve themselves. One queen said that she wouldn't drink water 24 hours before a competition so she wouldn't get bloated. Girl, what? You know, Gresham modeled Miss America to fit the categories in which she excelled in talent, interview, etc. when she competed, but that model simply tanked and was never fully a success, in my opinion. I do know that bothered Gretchen because she did make mention of that because it was so funny. They played a video of her in an interview, and she was like, she said, yes, I'm at a very prestigious college and I have a real talent. And I was like, oh, that's when she won Miss America, right? This was an interview that she did. And I said, well, that lets you know right there how she feels about certain things. She was like, I'm at a prestigious college. She went to Stanford and I have a real talent. She played the violin, right? So I was like, so that means, so what that said to me was that you was side-eyeing. You was side-eyeing some of these other people. Okay. Ma'am, that's not funny. For those of us that struggle, he said he'll be model size when his Ozempic arrives. Anyway, moving on. Um, um, but yeah, so it's like I feel like those types of things could have been done, but you're right. People look at pageants for certain things, and when you try to change the formula, nobody's interested because that's not why I was looking at it. Even the women enjoyed the swimsuit competition. It wasn't just lusty men. Oh, let me look at some bikinis. No, no, that's not even what it was. Like women, I told you guys when I was in college, it was a whole group of girls in my dorm that would literally get together to watch the Miss America pageant, and like that was like must see TV for them. You know, I told y'all last week my ex roommate was in the pageant circuit. She was always in a damn pageant. And you know, so I feel like I feel like it could have been handled differently. Um and ultimately she thought she was better than everyone else. Yeah, that's the way it came off to me. In that interview, and again, it was just one clip from an interview. You know, they might have looked for an interview where didn't make her look good, but that's how it came off. That she, because she, they even said that she asked, she said, in the paper they never print what college you go to. They never print, what your GPA is, but they printed your measurements, and that was true. They showed where they would print. It wasn't in the paper; it was in the program, like the program for Miss America. They will print your measurements, And again, those are the kinds of things that you could change. Change that kind of stuff. But to just totally I feel like throwing out the swimsuit competition was throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And maybe if you led up to that, but make some other changes first. And then if you get to the point where you're like, listen, it just, we tried to do this and we tried to do that, but it just was unhealthy. And we just weren't able to create a healthy environment for the women. And this is our way of creating a healthy environment for the women. You know what I mean? Like there was a way that it could have been addressed so that it didn't come off like that, right? There are ways for the most prestigious American pageants to evolve with the times while still holding on to the core tradition. Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like the reality is there are going to be some people that are never going to be into pageants. That's me. That's just not my thing. They don't entertain me. I'm not interested. They don't entertain me. Not my thing. There's nothing you can do to make me look at a pageant. There's nothing you can change to make me look at a pageant. I mean, so you're trying to adjust to a population that may never participate in this. You understand what I'm saying? Honestly, that's the attitude to have because this don't last forever. Just 1 year and she already won. It used it as a stepping stone. Now, the woman who won Miss America during Gretchen's reign, She came out with a letter at the end of her reign, which basically said that she was being bullied, she was being pushed out, she wasn't getting the interviews. Everybody wanted to talk to Gretchen instead of talking to her, and she felt like the board did that. Like, people weren't asking to talk to Gretchen; they wanted to talk to Miss America, but Gretchen was basically like elbowing in on her opportunities, and so she felt like, oh Lord, sorry. Oh, let me turn my phone off, Chad. I don't want to get no copyright off my ringtone, Chad. Yeah, and it's like it was like and that they did an internal investigation and found that there was no bullying. But my thing is that was internal. Give me an independent investigation. But I do feel like because Gretchen Carlson was such a name that maybe there were, media outlets that wanted to talk to Gretchen over talking to her. But I feel like Gretchen's place would have been to either have Miss America with her or say, no, it's, Miss America can handle that. That's her job. Her job is to represent the pageant. You don't need to talk to me. You know what I'm saying? But again, I feel like sometimes, when people want, like you said, somebody said it was like the new Coke, right? When they changed so they said, when they changed the formula of Coke, yeah, nobody asked for that. No, nobody asked for that. Nobody wants to see that. So I agree. Like, I just feel like for me, and I was like, people might be surprised at that. I didn't have I really don't feel like they should have got rid of the swimsuit competition. I think maybe they could have changed it. Maybe they could have adjusted some things. But yeah, again, a pageant is a pageant. It was built on that. It was built on skinny ass white women. Like, this is called a thing. It was built on skinny ass white women. Now, and I can say skinny ass white women because they had a whole rule that said only white women can win the pageant. So that's not me being racist. That's y'all. Rule number 7 said that no non-white woman could actually win the pageant. So that was y'all's rule. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I have a list of things I didn't ask for to be changed. Right. Question really be, have they ever had a documentary on kids pageants? I think so. I think they talked about that, especially around the time that JonBenet Ramsey. I think they did a lot of stuff on the kids pageants. It was different when they only had 3 networks. We watched them. What was on? A lot of times we watched Miss America Out of Habit. Yeah, and that's the thing too. Things have changed when that's valid, and that's a bigger picture when it comes to television and our habits with television. When we had less options, we watched a whole lot of ish that we wouldn't watch now because we ain't had no option. That was what was on TV. You couldn't flip and go through 100 channels and then have a streaming service and YouTube and DVDs, and like, you couldn't do all those things. You watch ABC, NBC, CBS, and if it wasn't on those 3 channels, pull out a book, because that's it. That's why when we start talking about ratings and stuff, I think we have to change how we look at all of those things. We have to change it how we look at ratings. We have to change how we measure those things. When people say, "Oh, well, it only got this many amount of viewers," well, I mean, is that in real time? That's just like when we're talking about like All in the Family. All in the Family didn't become a hit until the summer reruns. Why? Because people were like, "Oh, let me check this show out. I didn't look at it before. Oh, I didn't know this show was even on." It didn't become a hit until the summertime when people were watching the reruns. Then they were like, "Wait a minute, what's this show?" So, but the things are just different now. Nobody looks at the reruns. Who's looking at reruns? Because when reruns are on, like right now on the 3 major networks, when we got reruns on, we have all sorts of new shows popping up on cable. They just started a brand new Real Housewives of New York. We have, the OWN network got new shows dropping. MTV, A&E. Like, this is only the second week of these 2 shows. Like, there is no rerun season anymore. TLC had a whole series called Toddlers in Tears that documented that. Yeah, I remember that, Toddlers in Tears. You know where Honey Boo Boo came from? Didn't Honey Boo Boo come from Toddlers in Tears? Living Dolls, The Making of a Child Beauty Queen is an HBO doc that came out. Okay, so there's another one. Hey, Mr. Willie Brown. Yeah. So, yeah, it's just, I just think that, and again, hindsight is always 2020. I don't think her intentions were bad. I think that she wanted to make some changes based on who she was. And that's the other thing too. You're making these changes based on who you are now as a 50-year-old woman who has lived life, who has been through things. You're not basing that on that 20-year-old woman who won Miss America. Would you have wanted the swimsuit competition eliminated in your 20s when you were running for Miss America? Probably not. But now, fast forward, and I'm saying 50. I don't know how that woman was, but a grown ass woman who had been through sexual harassment and been through all these different experiences. But anyway, y'all, let me get off of here. We may or may not have a tribe meeting, child. I gotta see what is out here to even talk about with the tribe meeting situation, child. What? I'm sorry. All right, y'all. I'm ready for the Rule 7 episode next week. We'll be hearing from former Black Miss America and Black state winners that competed for Miss. I'm here for it. Like I said, Harold, Wednesday and Thursday work best for me. So if you get off at 7 o'clock on Wednesday or Thursday, let me know. I can schedule it for like 8 o'clock. Um, okay, so then she was in her early 50s. Yeah, because this was like 2008, 2009. And she resigned. She was only there like 2 years. She only did 2 pageants. She did 2018 and then 2019. And she resigned like right before the 2019 pageant. So she didn't even serve like 2 full years, I don't think. Yeah, it didn't last long. So yeah, Harold, I can schedule, like I said, I know you said you get off work at 7. Are you usually home by 8 o'clock? Let me know. We can definitely schedule. I definitely want your input. Definitely want your input. Okay, definitely hit me up. All right. All right, y'all. I'm about to get off of here. If I don't catch the original airing, I probably won't. Right. That's what I'm saying. We don't do that anymore. I put that stuff in my DVR. Do you know that sometimes stuff sits in my DVR for months? I'm like, oh, I want to see that. But if I'm busy doing YouTube and work and whatever, child, I ain't even gonna tell y'all this stuff that's been in my child. It is stuff that's been in my DVR for a minute, a long minute. Okay. That's part of the reason why I haven't gotten a call to get a new DVR because it's about time for me to upgrade. But I'm like, I would have to watch everything on there, and I got to clear out my damn DVR first. Usually in the summer is when I have a good time, a good chance. I get a good time. I'll be able to knock it down during the summer because I'm home. I could watch more stuff. All right, y'all, I'm out. I will talk to y'all later. Mwah!